Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Taylor and I love to learn new programs on my own. Most of the content you'll see on here will be self-taught. I never went to school for these programs. However, one teacher opened my eyes to 3D Studio Max 4 in high school, and I haven't stopped loving the 3D world since. And I've been inspired by many artists out there. I'll link to those below. Along the way, I've taken it upon myself to learn bits and pieces of Zbrush, Maya, and other related programs. So with that said, I'm going to dive into the process that I take when designing models, and I'll try to make this user-friendly by explaining the tools I use for those that aren't familiar with the programs. I'll also do some simple follow-along tutorials in the future. Today, I made a design on paper. Generally, I just jump into 3D programs and start with raw ideas that come to mind, but as your teachers tell you, always start with concept drawings. ZBrush is a lot like working with clay. Whether you own a tablet, which makes it really easy to adjust for pressure sensitivity when working on 3D models, or even if you just use a mouse, you can still move around digital like clay to sculpt really interesting figures. Maya is a bit different. It's not like working with clay for the most part. It's focused more on animation, but I do believe there are style elements of this program that you could do some basic modeling with. Maya uses a rigid approach to modeling in my terms, with moving faces and vertices and edges around to create models. You can still face extrude, so in that sense it's kind of like ZBrush. Yes, there's a lot of modeling tools, but I won't be touching base on all of them. I generally just stick to the basics. So now jumping into ZBrush, I'm starting out with a simple Zsphere and basically just making the legs of the model, moving things around to adjust for the basic shape. We're going to switch to the preview of the model and we're going to start sculpting in, smoothing areas out and moving it around just to get a general, more redefined shape. Adding the hook off to the right side of the arm, we'll call it. First we select the shape and then we do a mesh extract, and this gives us an extra piece to work with. And then we can redefine it once we have the basic shape. Just pushing in clay around, and it's very easy to do when you have a tablet, and if you don't have a tablet then you can just use your mouse. When we hide the mesh, it's easier to work on basic shapes, and then that way you don't accidentally pull in on a different area that you're not wanting to. At this point we're basically using an insert mesh. Insert mesh is a great way to add basic shapes to a Dynamesh. We can go over that in a different lesson. And once we have an extra little bit of a mesh area, we can basically sculpt that back. Generally I like to get a basic form, and then I add another insert mesh. It gives us more to play with. So now here we're getting the basic mesh for the bottom area, so it looks like it's sitting on something. Adding another insert mesh for the kind of horn type style. At this point the horn wasn't really symmetrical, so we basically hide everything else, and then we can do a mirror and weld mesh and flatten everything out so it's symmetrical. We're going to add some insert meshes for the side area and kind of build those up like an antenna things for maybe a signal or something coming in. Here we are redefining the shape of the hook on top of the head. Of course, you can always move things around, make it look more like the model, just straightening things out or bending objects inwards, trying to make it look like the original sketch. We're going to make the head bigger as well and just smooth everything out in the end. Okay, so usually I like to bring the mesh into Maya, but instead this time we're going to go right from a basic sphere. We're going to build it up, try and make it the same style, but of course Zbrush has different styling tools compared to Maya. With this model, we're going to extrude the mesh in different areas just to get the same leg shapes and everything. We're going to scale them down, scale them up, try and get the same form going. I find Maya a little easier to work with because you get more of a blocky shape, whereas Zbrush you kind of have to build in the blocky shape. Maya is a different kind of interface where you can just grab and build shapes a lot easier, I find anyways. Still working towards the same result in the end, but we're building up the antenna differently because Maya has different capabilities compared to Zbrush. You can also connect shapes a lot easier instead of doing a re-dynamesh and stuff like that. This is the horn shape, of course. to tweak it a bit more. So this is the basic shape in Maya, and working towards a final result. I'm not going to show everything that I did in the end, really just adding some basic lights, some highlights and stuff like that. Here we are with the two results at the end. I'm pretty sure you could have the same result in both programs, but I like to do different styles when it comes to either program. I hope you enjoyed my process for this design. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.